How high can Cardano go this cycle? One thing that I've done differently in this video is I've asked AI from a fundamental perspective, from a social overview, how high it's going to go and the probabilities of it getting there. And it's given me three answers with probabilities. And we're going to complement them with the chart because you know me, I'm a technical guy. I look at previous data to understand exactly what sticking points are going to be there in the future, whether it's structure support, whether it's structure resistance, whether we're in an uptrend, whether we're in a downtrend, whether in the choppy accumulation phase. The chart tells a story to me from a technical perspective. So I thought I'd bring in fundamentals, I thought I'd bring in social, and then add them to the chart to find out what the probabilities are of Cardano, firstly, going to all-time highs, and secondly, whether it's going to put in a lower high. Bitcoin's going to top out. We're going to go through a bear market and then we're going to continue further at the downside. So we're going to build in the fundamental, we're going to build in the social, we're going to add it to the chart, and then we're going to paint a collective picture as to what the probabilities are of Cardano hitting highs, whether it's going to put in a lower high or whether it's just not even going to do anything. And I did have to think about this quite a lot because one thing that you need to do when you're looking from a fundamental perspective, a social aspect, when you're putting details into AI, the more information that you put in that's relevant, the better the information that you're going to get out. And it did remind me of an old boss of mine, an old Scottish guy. And one thing that he used to say, if you went back to him and say, the reports weren't working on this, the data's not coming out on that, he used to turn around and say, shat in, shat out. And that's my Scottish accent, basically saying it is all about the inputted data that you put in there, which gives you the results that come out. So I did have a big think about this. And one thing that I asked Grok was, based on current data, as of September the 14th, that's today, day that I've done the video, provide a detailed prediction for the potential peak of Cardano in this market cycle. Remember, the market cycle does include Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the one that dictates the market. So I've said, assuming it's tied to the post-2024 Bitcoin bull run halving. Analyze these key metrics, sentiment analysis, including retail investor, sentiment investor from X, Twitter, and Google Trends. So that's the social aspect. Collective charts, correlations with Bitcoin, Russell 2000, S&P 500, the DXY, and the Bitcoin dominance. They're the charts that we go through. From a macroeconomic overview, such as interest rates, inflation, global liquidity, geopolitical factors. Expected time frame for the potential peak, and then incorporate additional relevant metrics like on-chain data, active addresses, transactional volume, whale accumulation, technical indicators like the RSI, the MACD, fib retracement levels, historic cycle comparisons, just like the 2017 cycle, just like the 2021 cycle peaks. Cardano specific factors, i.e., DeFi, TVL, staking participation, upcoming upgrades, basically who's using the network. Regulatory news, market cap relative to Ethereum and other altcoins. And then I've said provide step-by-step reasoning, cite sources from X, where possible, include price range, bullish base, bearish scenarios with probabilities, and use tables for comparisons if helpful. What risks could cap to the upside based on this data? Provide us with an estimated peak cycle time and price. Also, the answer should be short and on point and easy for the reader to follow. So this is the results that Grok pulled out. First one, step-by-step reasoning for the peak prediction. It said, historic cycle context. The 2024 Bitcoin halving typically precedes the bull market peaks 12 to 18 months later. We talk about this on my videos. So Bitcoin leads the way. When the Bitcoin cycle ends, the altcoins are either ending or they're crashing as well. In 2021, everything crashed together. In 2018, altcoins run into 2018 in January when Bitcoin crashed in 2017. So in 2017, post 16 halving, ADA peaked at $1.30 from 2 cents. That's 6,400% to the upside. In 2021, post 2020, it hit $3.10. So that was its previous all-time high. That was from 10 cents. So the current cycle aligns with Q4 peak 2025 as Bitcoin cycles show 526 days to the top. So the sentiment on X and Twitter, this is the sentiment, this is a social aspect saying that X is showing bullish retail hype, e.g. targets 110 breakout calls, but ratio 1.5.1 bearish signals, potential bottom. So Google Trends hits 90-day high for Cardano, indicating rising interest. So this is showing retail's coming into the market. The chart correlations, ADA tracks BTC. And then you could see that when we looked at the chart, ADA started outperforming BTC, showing that the risk curve's changing. People are coming out of Bitcoin out of dollars, out of the off risk assets and going into on risk assets like Cardano. So we've seen that on the charts. So the macro overview: inflation eases to 3.6% in 2025. Fed cut boosts liquidity. We've got favor crypto as hedge, but volatile risks from fiscal debates. On-chain technicals: active addresses up 12% weekly. That's massive. TX volume 113 mil a week. So the whales accumulated 130 ADA in August, selling some, which was 30 million. So that's up 130. RSI 42, which is neutral. MACD is a buy. Fibonacci wedge pattern breakout targets 110 to $1.32. Isn't that funny? How long have we been talking about that? $1.32. We've been talking about that on the channel. If I just flip over, $1.32 down here, look here. We've been talking about that for months. We were talking about that during this accumulation phase here. So it's interesting that our AI is agreeing with that. So DeFi TVL 380 million lags ETH. Of course it lags ETH. So Chainlink integration Q4 ETF 90% approval odds. Thing that we're interested in here is this: peak frame, time frame, and time estimate. Estimated peak Q4 2025, October to December, aligning with historic halving cycles. This is going to be the difficult time to pick, because you can't pick tops, you can't pick bottoms, so it is going to be difficult. We don't know between October, November, December when the market cycles will end. So it's ultimately up to you to make sure that you've got an exit strategy to scale out of the market during that period. So these are the three ranges. We're going to add them to the charts very shortly. You've got bullish, and this is a 40% probability, $3 to $5. We're going to look at the chart very shortly. That's ETF approval, alt season, upgrades, boost, TVL, staking, BTC integration, and that is sub $150,000 on BTC. You've got the base here, 1.5 to 2.5. We talk about that a lot as well. It's a 40% probability. That's if we get a steady BTC rally, moderate liquidity, and on-chain growth sustains. And then the bearish scenario, 0.8 to 1.2. We talk about the 1.2 level as well on the channel. BTC dominance spikes, macro slowdown, whale sells intensify. So estimated peak December 2025 at $2 base case. So if you look at this and you look into this, you've got 40% probability, $3 to $5. You've got 40% probability, 1.5 to 2.5, and you've got a 20% probability, 80 cents to $1.20. So you've got an 80% probability that it's going to go from 1.5 to $5. Let's take a look at the charts and see what that looks like. Okay, so we're back to the charts and we're going to look at what AI says, and we're going to look at the analysis and whether it matches up with any of the technicals to try and find out whether there's a probability we're going to get sticking points at those levels. So Cardano is currently trading at 91 cents in the short term. We've had a break of trend. We've broken the 382. That's strong. We're pushing up towards the previous high. It's looking like we're going to pull back and hit a resistance point. To flip support as 88 cents, just under 89 cents. So we said that that was the barrier before. We've overcome that barrier. That is strong for Cardano, looking for a push up to the upside. So whilst that pulls back, the aim of the game is this indicator to come back down, for us to hold a higher low and then push to the upside. So that's in the short term. What does AI say? Let's have a look at the AI chart. Pull that up. Pull that up. We just jump onto the 3-day chart so it's nice and clear. You can see here. This is what AI is saying. So we've got a 20% chance. This is the 20% chance. This is the bearish case. And that's saying from 80 cents all the way to, remember, $1.20. So it's give a 20% chance for the bearish case. It's give a 40% chance. This is the base case. This is all the way from $1.50 all the way up to $2.48. Can you see what $2.48, $2.50, I beg your pardon? $2.50 coincides with one thing, the 78.6% retracement. So that would mean a lower high. So the base case is saying that it's not going to put in an all-time high, and there's 40% probability based on socials, fundamentals, based on the output of AI. So 40% probability we're going to hit the 786 or this region here between $1.50 and the $2.50 mark. Right, okay, the bullish scenario, there's a 40% probability of the bullish scenario, and that's all the way up here, all the way up here. You could see it was $3 to, remember, $5. What does $5 coincide with? This Fibonacci extension level, exactly 1.618 extension of this move here, from this swing all the way to the bottom using the extension. There's your 1272, there's your 1618. So you've got a 40% chance of it hitting that. And that's what AI is telling us. So based on what my technicals say, you can see that there's some sticking points here. You've got 38.2% retracement at $1.32. That was a key level that AI said was a key level. You've got the 78.6% retracement at $2.50. That was going to be a key level. And then shooting for the moon, if AI is right, 40%, it peaks out at the 1618. That is $5 exactly. Right, if you did enjoy this video, let me know in the comments what you want me to cover next and whether you want me to ask AI any of your favorite altcoins and want me to cover those. If you did want to join our Discord group, it is completely free. Get yourself down there. That's where you can put all your chart requests in there. We've got a list here. I'm going to be doing a big altcoin video. It's probably already done now, actually, by the time I put this one out. So go back and watch that because I'm covering the macro perspective, what to look going into this week in crypto, what happens if it goes right, what happens if it goes wrong, and how to prepare for both scenarios. But Discord group's completely free. That's where you can chat with me directly. There's lots of great people in there. See you in the next one.